Welcome back to LuxeGen Challenges. Today I sit down with Olly Bowman, the man who's not only breaking the internet with his viral dance moves, but also breaking down barriers in our understanding of mental health.
If you see someone like dancing, you might like laugh.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of a street, you might like, oh, that's funny, a bit weird. But then do you really care? Or
Yeah,
you
no.
back to your own stresses and worries for the day.
We talk about the unspoken rules of men's emotions.
Finding contentment with themselves.
Olly shares some tips and tricks on how to boost mental well-being.
You know, confidence is feeling those things and doing it anyway.
And of course, we couldn't let him go without him spilling the beans on the viral dance. Who knows? Maybe it's the secret to inner peace.
I think that's why I like dancing so much, because like for me, like just going around doing like weird shit in public, that's sort of like a representation of just being yourself.
So make sure you subscribe, tell your friends, it's a good one. Welcome back to the Challenges podcast. I'm Amber Milligan, and today I'm joined by content creator and mental health advocate, Olly Bowman. The one, the only, the dancing queen. Olly, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I like that introduction.
For those who don't know you, could you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Olly from Australia.
Yeah.
Post videos, silly videos online, a lot of dancing, a lot of just positive vibes really. Just, you know, just about being yourself, not worrying too much what others think.
So today we're going to be talking about mental health, more specifically men's mental health. I thought we could start off by talking a bit about society's expectations on men and their mental health. I feel like there's such a social norm to be strong. We use phrases like man up or be a man. Have you ever had those words being used around you, and have you felt that they have had a negative impact on you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like growing up, it's sort of ingrained into you, sort of the stereotypical how to be a man, how to be a girl, like all the sort of ridiculous things like that. So it's like you kind of grow up thinking that you need to fit a certain mold.
100%.
And I think people like subconsciously don't even realize that they're like when they're acting, and whether it's in public or even like alone, and they'll think like, I don't know, they might not do something that they otherwise would have because they think, oh no, that's not like how I should act. Yeah. And like I don't know, the idea that there's a right way to act is sort of just very flawed, and I think it's really damaging for just people in life.
Good or bad. I also feel like it's not weak. It's crazy to me that the idea would be for men it's that it's weak to be vulnerable and open up about your mental health, whereas I would view it as taking care of your mental health and being vulnerable and opening up and reaching out for support would be the definition of strength to me. But it's strange, for so long that just hasn't been the case for men at all.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and especially because it's so hard to open up about. And it's like, it's scary being vulnerable. Yeah. So it's definitely like a strength thing. Yeah. Although it's, portrayed as a weakness for guys sometimes.
We love your content here.
Thank you.
And I was just wondering, like, where did this come from, and how are you using your content to shake things up on the internet?
Where it came from, I'm not sure. It's hard to say. I think initially my whole account was in Norwegian, actually. Okay. Because I was living in Norway for a couple of years, sort of other story in itself. But then when I swapped to English like 2 years ago, I don't know, I think I've just always been quite like above average in confidence and not worrying too much what other people think. I was lucky to have like an older sister that kind of showed me the way in that. And I just saw how people were just so affected by this kind of, fear of what others think, and like how it kind of controlled their actions. And I just thought, it would be good to be able to communicate and show people like you don't have to worry so much. It's not that serious if someone thinks you're weird or whatever it is. Initially, I thought if I just have like a really good message, like it's just gonna hit and like it'll go viral. So then I like tried like just speaking to the camera and saying something that obviously just flopped. Yeah. Because you need to find a way to like have it.
You find
engaging,
your niche and
and like have a way people actually want to watch and be entertained as well.
Did you find that there was a difference in living in Norway and living in London, the way that people kind of are with their confidence?
Everyone's just innately scared to be themselves or like to stand out or worried what others think. So that just happens like worldwide. I'd say the Scandinavians are definitely like reserved people. Yeah. And there's something called like janteloven in Norway or Scandinavia as a whole, and it's just about, it basically says you are not special, like, you shouldn't stand out, like all this stuff. So it's definitely like in their culture as well to not be different. Yeah. But yes, I think it's everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere, I've lived in a couple of different countries now. And I haven't ever seen a place where that doesn't exist. Like maybe America's the extreme of, be yourself, whatever. But besides that.
Have you lived in America?
Yeah, I went on exchange to a college in America. So I was there for about 4 months.
Talking about moving from another country, I think it's very impressive that you've been able to move to a whole different country, which, people in itself would think is a daunting prospect, but then also creating this content and creating such a a massive audience is, you know, that let alone is very intimidating. When you started to get big, how did you manage the kind of initial anxieties that come with a growing audience?
I don't know. It's you become numb to it quickly. Like it's hard to sort of comprehend like the size of how many people you that follow you, because it's just, you know, a number on a screen. It doesn't really feel that real. It's just like, I don't know. I was pretty chill with it. I think I didn't find it too overwhelming. I was just happy because it showed that I was doing something that was working and connecting with people. Yeah. Especially when people come up to me and say like, you know, how I've kind of helped them be more positive or whatever it is. So I think it was just like a good thing for me. Yeah. Like it was what I was aiming for and trying to do. So.
Yeah, because I was actually saying to the girls before we started filming, I had a real moment when it came to like consuming media and realizing what was good for me and what wasn't good for me. So I like the typical thing that you do, unfollowed a lot of creators, which I just feel like didn't suit me. And you were actually one of the people that I kept, because you just get like serotonin from your videos, because they're so relatable. And the things that you're talking about, everyone is going through, but the videos, you do them in a way where it kind of installs hope in a way for a lot of people, because it's like, oh, okay, maybe eventually I can reach that point if I do some of the things that you do, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
And have you got any stories or moments that made you go, okay, right, I need to talk about this stuff specifically?
I've always sort of wanted to, like with my social media, talk about these things, just because something that I'm like passionate about. Yeah. I think everyone, you know, should be able to just do what they want to do in life, you know, free from worrying what other people think. So I don't think there was like one moment. My content has definitely kind of evolved over time. Initially, it was a lot more on the silly side. Yeah. Now it's like a balance of silly and deeper messages. But yeah, there wasn't one moment. That it sort of just happens naturally, I think. And what I'm passionate about will just come through regardless in what I'm doing.
How does someone reach this point of confidence that you have, and what's your advice?
I think with confidence, a lot of people have the misconception that confidence is an absence of fear, or like, you know, no hesitation. It's just that's what confidence is. And then they kind of wait and think, well, I'm not confident now, but like maybe when I stop feeling like scared of failure or judgment or whatever it is, then I'll be confident. Yeah. But it's kind of realizing, you know, confidence is feeling those things and doing it anyway. Yeah. So I think in order to be confident, you just have to realize like it's okay to be scared. It's okay to like, you know, worry about what might go wrong. But don't let that dictate your actions. Like if you want to do something, you do it. And like you just have to kind of start with something small. Start with something just like a little bit embarrassing, or that scares you a little bit, and do that, and you're like, oh, I just, you know, I survived, I'm all right. And then do it again and again. And for me, I actually think going out sober was a big help, because it's so easy to be weird in public when you're out, because everyone's drunk. And like if you just go on a night out and you like look at someone, just follow different individual people, just people watch, you realize everyone looks so weird. It's so everyone looks weird, and everyone's doing random stuff, and no one cares. Yeah. And then you do something weird, and you're like, oh, like no one's watching me here. Yeah. And then you can kind of take that philosophy to, you know, the real world, outside of for like a night out. And you realize it's the exact same thing. Everyone's sober and they're still not noticing me. Like maybe someone will look at you for a couple seconds. Yeah. And then they look away and they forget about you. And they go back to their own life. Yeah. Because that's so true. Would you care if you see someone like dancing? You might like laugh. Yeah. Like in the middle of a street, you might like, oh, that's funny, a bit weird. But then do you really care? Or are you back to your own stresses and worries for the day? It's so true. Just realizing that. And like the annoying thing that always frustrates me with confidence is that it's so easy to get out of practice with it. Like if you do one brave thing, you'll feel really good. Maybe you do another and you feel like you're like on a roll. Yeah. But then if you kind of like hide away for a little while, it's like you got to get back into the rhythm. Keeping that momentum, so just being consistent and just continuously reminding yourself that it's okay. Like it doesn't matter if you embarrass yourself. Yeah. It's literally just human. Yeah. You know, everyone's so afraid to be human sometimes. It's so true. And it's like the thing, humanity is not about just being constantly, you know, happy. It's about being content. And I feel like that what you were saying kind of comes with like motivation as well. Like the motivation to create habits that you know will make you feel better. Like movement in the morning, like stretching in the evening, that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's like you can't just do it when you're feeling okay, when I'm motivated enough I'll do it, or when I've bought this yoga mat I'll do it. It's like just start. Like it could be bad, but as long as you're consistent, it will build up, and over time these things will help your mental health objectively. I think that's why I like dancing so much, because like for me, like just going around doing like weird shit in public, that's sort of like a representation of just being yourself. And for me, that's why I love dancing, because it's just a time to be free and be weird. and it's just acceptable. When everyone's dancing, like everyone's done weird stuff. So just being confident just requires feeling the fear and doing it anyway, and not waiting for that fear to not exist. It'll always be there.
Yeah.
Like no matter who you are, you see all these like brave, like I don't know, think of like artists who perform in front of all these people. The only reason they can do that is because they started small. They were brave one time. Yeah. And then they're brave again. And they keep doing it, and then it just becomes, they get into the rhythm of being confident and like not listening to those thoughts. Yeah. Because our thoughts will always sort of betray us.
I wanted to talk to you a bit about anxiety. I have the view that anxiety is more about like the anticipation rather than the event itself. Yes. And for me, like I kind of have an all or nothing mindset when it comes to anxiety. Like I'll have anxiety on one thing and not really other things. So for example, right now I wouldn't really say I'm experiencing any other sort of anxiety apart from health anxiety. And what I'm trying to remind myself is like, it's just like an anxious thought. It's there. It's going to go away eventually. Yeah. I saw a thing that Mark Twain said the other day. It was like, all of the worst things that have happened to me haven't actually happened yet, which I really like.
There's a philosopher called Seneca that says we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Yeah. And it's so true.
It's so true. And it's like, it's just finding the balance between that. Do you have any like advice and tips on how you kind of manage it when those anxious thoughts do come in?
For me, it's important that when I feel anxious or I'm just overthinking things, to not let it like change my routine or day. Yeah. Because like when we feel anxious, that's the time we want to like just pull back and kind of just hide away in our room. Yeah. But it's also the time that we should be doing our normal things, because then that's what makes us feel good. Yeah. So like for me, I'll go to the gym and work like normal, see friends. But anxiety is tough because when you're in it, it just feels so all-encompassing. So, it's going to be forever. Yeah. So like yesterday I was just randomly feeling anxious. And then even the thought of doing this, when I'm in that is like, oh, that sounds like nerve-wracking and like scary. And then I wake up and I feel fine. I'm like, oh.
It's so, like literally the other day I was like, I went to bed and I was like, oh my God, my heart is beating so fast I just couldn't sleep. And it wasn't about anything. There was nothing. It was just coming. And I saw, do you follow Dr. Alex George? He said something really interesting the other day, and it was basically like, when that anxious thought arrives, picture it like a stream, and the anxious thought is a leaf that falls into this stream. So you're acknowledging the thought, because at the moment I'm trying to just like, instead of trying to get the thought to go away, I'm just like, okay, the thought is there, it's landed in the stream, and eventually it will pass you by. You know, we're never not going to be anxious. Our brains are hardwired to protect us, and anxiety is how it does that, and it has done since we were born. So it's not about getting the anxiety to just disappear and go away. It's just about learning to manage it. And so using that like acknowledgement of thought, I'm encompassing at the moment to try and help with that kind of stuff.
I do think that helps a lot. Not trying to like resist it and push it away, more just letting it sit there. Yeah. And just kind of like letting it be, and that's ironically when it goes away. Yeah. So,
and it is hard though. It's like,
hard to do at the time.
But in a few of your videos, you've talked about chronic fatigue, and I wanted to ask like how that came about, and what were your first symptoms, and when did you realise that this was an issue that you were struggling with?
It was about 3 years ago. I got glandular fever, sort of bedridden it was different from person to person, but I had like a bad case of it. So that was like really bad for sort of 3 months. I couldn't really eat because my throat was so swollen, and just like lying around aching, migraines, just like everything like that. And then as I kind of came out of that, it's progressed into chronic fatigue, which is just, it's not like you can say like you've got chronic fatigue. It's like you can't just take a test. It's just like over time, it sort of becomes clear by what happens to you, I suppose. You just get really tired and achy and like sick easily. So your immune system is really low. So for me, when I was in the bad sort of 2-year period, if I had a couple late nights in a row or something, my throat would just swell up.
Really?
And I'd be like achy and just have to kind of like lie around for a day or a couple of days. Especially when I was trying to drink still. However long ago, it could just knock me out for like a week.
Oh my God.
So it was just things like that. And it's really frustrating as well because it's not really visible. Yeah. And like to tell people I'm really tired. Yeah. It just sounds like a fake excuse. People just think, it sounds like I'm being lazy or something. Yeah. But it's hard for someone to really empathize unless they've experienced.
In a way I kind of get what you mean. I feel like the whole invisible illness thing is so tough. Like with me, obviously you can, like my colleagues and my friends will see like as the day goes on, my eye gets like lazier and lazier. So it becomes slightly less invisible. But, you know, day to day, it's not something that I'm like, it's clear to see that I'm struggling with. Or my mum, for example, she's an amputee and she hides her leg all the time. So we kind of say to each other, even though we can't see that we're struggling, we just have to be really mindful that there's a lot of stuff going on like inside this person because it's just not visible. Like I assume the mental side effects that come with chronic fatigue are also really, really damaging. And they're, again, not visible. People can't, see them and then would know to ask, like, are you okay? How are you doing? How do you manage that when you are struggling? Do you have to voice that to your friends?
Yeah, it's like, it's frustrating at first, especially with friends, because they don't really get it at first. And they'll be like, if I'm like, oh, I'm tired, like I'm going to have to leave early or whatever it is, they didn't really understand at first. My family was super supportive the whole time. And now my friends obviously are as well. But at first it's hard to understand. Yeah. Just try to communicate to them. But also I think FOMO was a big thing for me at first. I feel like things I had to miss out on. Just like kind of getting to a point where you're like, it's all right to miss out on this thing. Yeah. But it's tough. Like being tired all the time is a really sort of depressing thing. Yeah. Because you just feel unbothered. Yeah. Or, not excited about things you normally would because you're just like, oh, I just need to lie around. So it's tough to get through, but you just find other sort of avenues to keep you happy and interested. Like for me, before chronic fatigue, I was really into sort of fitness. I was a personal trainer. Yeah. And then obviously there's been 2.5 year period where I just haven't really been able to do any exercise. So mentally training was always sort of an outlet for me. Yeah. Then I kind of had to find other ways to distract myself and keep me happy and be passionate about. So I think it was actually really, in a long term sort of scheme of things, it was really good for me. Yeah. Like finding other ways to be happy and so it's a tough thing, but it's in the long run can be good. About
your sobriety as well, was chronic fatigue the reason that you went sober? What was the kind of purpose behind that?
Yeah, so I was never like a massive drinker. I would drink so like every now and then. I always was someone who'd go out sober as well, do like a mix. But then it was chronic fatigue that really was the reason I had to completely cut it out, which was so like last time I drank was about 1.5 years ago. Yeah, I quite like that I don't drink now. It's just so much more convenient. Yeah, I don't know. I even when I'm 100% healthy again, I might drink like a couple times a year, but I've no desire really to drink on nights out.
I feel like it's important, like not putting pressure on it as well. I feel like there's a lot of conversation nowadays about sobriety and the reason why I like looking at your content, because there are nights where like I won't drink on a night out as well, purely because I can't afford to have the hangover the next day if I'm doing something. The reason why I liked your content is it was this very lightheartedness and funniness of it, like watching your friends, get progressively more and more drunk on a night out and you're sober. Like it gave me reasons to be like, okay, yeah, this is a good idea. But I wondered if you had any advice for someone who is sober curious. What would you do kind of starting to go out and not drink?
You just gotta have one night where you're definitely not gonna drink, firstly, because if you're like a bit like, oh, maybe I'll drink, maybe I won't, then you just will end up drinking. Yeah. You just have to kind of do it once and then you'll sort of realize it's not that bad. Because I think everyone thinks it's gonna be so awkward and it's like everyone's drunk but no one's paying attention to you. Yeah, exactly. It's that typical spotlight effect where you think everyone's like looking at you and maybe you're like looking weird or something. Yeah. But you just gotta do it once and then you'll realize that was easy. It wasn't too bad, and see if you enjoy it. But like I agree with what you said, that it doesn't have to be like a strict never drink. Yeah. Like for me, for health reasons, it is. But I think with anything in life, like you don't need to be so pressured about it.
Now that you're sober and spending nights out sober, and you obviously live with housemates, what's the difference in your like view on anxiety now? Because like kind of everyone kind of gets anxiety to different extents. Like I luckily don't feel like I struggle with anxiety that much, but some of my friends really do. Yeah. We'll have a morning debrief and it's always like, oh my God, I've done this, I've done that. But now that you're sober, do you have like a different view on it when like your girlfriend or your friends come to you and they're saying, oh, I'm feeling a bit anxious from last night?
Yes, I love it because I just think it's funny watching them. And it just makes me feel a lot better about that I didn't drink as well.
That's so true.
Like, I don't know, the next day for me now is a lot easier because I obviously wasn't drunk the night before. But you'd be surprised how much of a hangover is from a lack of sleep. Because if I have a late night on a night out, even if I don't drink, I still wake up tired the next day. Yeah. But no, anxiety is kind of funny for me to witness now.
Do you like, now that you're not drinking on a night out, do you ever go to like afters and stuff, or is it just like?
Yeah, I mean, there was a period when I was going out a lot more when I wasn't drinking, and I'd stay the whole night.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes I'd need like, I don't know, a Red Bull or something like that to get me going. Lately, like I'd say I love an early night, so less inclined, but not to do with sobriety, more just because I want to.
Yeah, same. No, I feel like it must be the shift between autumn, because I feel like in the summer, obviously a lot of my friends had like moved back from uni and moved back from traveling, so there was a whole kind of like everyone needs to go out and see everyone and reconnect. And now that it's kind of autumn, I'm like, I just can't imagine
like
anything
snuggly
worse.
vibes.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to talk a bit about how guys can approach their relationship with mental health. How can guys get comfy with the whole idea of feelings and the whole feelings thing?
Finding contentment with themselves. You know, I think when people are men, particularly when they're like resistant to being vulnerable or opening up about emotions, it's coming from like an insecurity of I don't want to seem soft or whatever it is. So it's really just about finding like self-confidence, I suppose, because obviously, I don't know, when we grow up with what we were speaking about earlier, you know, trying to fit a mold of what we think, you know, the correct ways to act, then we aren't actually acting like our true selves.
Yeah.
It can be hard we almost have to unlearn that and learn like what do we actually want to do. And then that's what I found, at least, like as I've become more comfortable with just being myself in whatever sort of weird ways that is, then I'm not like worried about sort of opening up as much. So I think it all comes from just the self-confidence. Just realize it's okay to be, you know, vulnerable or do this, you know, like there's no right way to be. There's just be how you are. Yeah. That's the only thing there is.
There's no intrinsically good or bad.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I love that. The conversation has been opened up more, but do you think men today are talking enough about their mental health, and are they being vulnerable enough in your personal experience with your friends, with your family?
My friend group, I think the boys I live with, I think we're pretty good about it, but definitely not enough. I think we can always talk more about it. Yeah. And it's like at the time when you're feeling it is hard to kind of initiate the conversation if you're the one feeling it. Yeah. You like sort of want someone to ask you and talk about it. Yeah. So I think we could, like, men can always talk about it more. Yeah. So can girls probably. Everyone can probably talk about it more. How
can we be there like for our mates when we can see that they're going through it?
Being interested in like what's happening in someone's life firstly, and then like, you know, usually if something's like a bit stressful happening, asking about that. But otherwise just saying, just checking in on them. Yeah. You know, just asking what's going on in their life. They'll say something, it might be, it's usually obvious if it's causing sort of stress or anxiety, and then just kind of diving a bit into that, getting them to open up. Like people will always say, yeah, but like it's all right. Like, and you can say it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be,
okay, yeah. That's what I've started doing with my friends a lot more, because I feel like there's especially in our early 20s when career is kind of a big prospect of our lives. Like I came out of uni last year, and a lot of the people around me have gone, you know, very, very full steam ahead with these careers. And some of their working hours are crazy. And I have, you know, I've reached out to them, you know, constantly, and I say like, oh, how are you doing? How are you doing? And it's always like, yeah, no, I'm fine. Like life's good. And then when I see them in person, that's when they kind of feel comfortable enough to open up and be like, actually, you know what? Like I'm really, really struggling under the pressure of the work hours or the workload.
I think as well, a lot of people feel they're going to be annoying if they, I don't know, put their stresses on you. So just like showing them like that you're there for them and you want to help or support makes them realize, you know, they can put it like you can opening up to a good friend isn't like a burden for them. It's like they want to help you. So just showing them that, I think.
I feel like that's the issue. Like it's the feeling of being a burden. I feel like that's something that a lot of people kind of, the reason why people refrain from doing it in the first place. And I guess maybe that there could be would you think it would be a good idea for your friend who you do want to open up to say like, you're not being a burden just like off the bat, so don't.
Just saying like, it's like you know, I want to help you. Like, people think, no, like I don't want to tell them, but it's like that's what good friends are for, you know. You see both sides of you, not just the when you're happy side, but also when you're sad and anxious. So just like being there for them, I think will kind of show that to them that it's okay to tell them.
Crystal ball time. What is next for the conversation around men's mental health?
The focus doesn't actually need to be on mental health. I don't think it needs to be on, which I suppose is linked to mental health, but more just finding sort of a comfortability in yourself. And cause I think that's what will have the ripple effect of being comfortable to like then open up to someone about when you're feeling down or whatever it is. Because when you're confident in yourself and who you are, you feel so much less of a need to hide behind a facade or pretend to be happy all the time. And also it's draining being someone you're not and like sort of acting in ways that you wouldn't normally. So there can be kind of a focus on kind of learning who you are and just being yourself without having to like change or, you know, meet some expectation that you think, oh, someone will think I'm cool if I do this.
Yeah.
Then that will just have such a big effect on everyone's life and just mentally. So you can just like, it just clears your mind. Sort of. So yeah, I think it should be about being yourself, and that will kind of help everything else.
And like, I've been there when you know, everyone does it when they're young, when they're kind of pretending to be something that they're not in hopes of, you know, making friends.
And everyone will do it. It's impossible to not do it.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
But I found that there's such a weight lifted off your shoulders when you do just say, okay, well, fuck it. If they don't like me, or if I'm not going to get this job, or if I'm not going to get the grades that I hoped, I'm just going to deal with being me and it's fine. And the weight just gets lifted off your shoulders. But I found that as soon as I kind of started, you know, taking that pressure off myself to be a certain way or to do a certain thing, then everything else, like you said, with the ripple effect, it does just kind of fall into place. Like the group of friends that I have now is so much more me. Or like the job that I have, like it's, you know, I haven't got it through like putting myself in a box and trying to be someone else. And it does, things just do fall into place when you take that pressure off.
And with the friends thing as well, like people are afraid, what if I push my friends away? It's like, if being yourself pushes them away, then they're not the right friends for you anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
And like being yourself is how you're going to find, you know, your best friends or your partner, whatever it is. That's how you're going to, what do you want to find friends that like you for like a fake you?
Yeah, completely.
So like realizing that also can give someone the confidence. Like, okay, if they're not going to like me for them, then I don't want them to be my friend.
Yeah, so true. How do we make sure that the next group of guys grows up with their head in a good place?
I think the view of, you know, what a man is changing slowly, but it is changing, and just as people realize there's no right way to be, that's sort of the main thing, and then they'll kind of realize, oh, I can do what I want and I can be how I want.
I do find that with this new conversation around men's mental health, there are a lot of like mixed messages coming up, like the ingrained societal expectations that men already have, and then also this like, okay, you can, you know, be tough, but also cry, but only sometimes. And I feel like there are a lot of mixed messages. Do you think that we should be finding a middle ground in that?
By saying like act any sort of way is wrong. Is that it's like inherently flawed because then that's still like creating the notion that there's a right way to act. It's more just about act how you want. Like regardless of it's just all about there's no right way to act. I think that's like the main message that should be communicated, not like you can be tough, but you have to cry. Like it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Just act how you feel like inside of you. That's sort of, I think, the main thing. And that's what will lead to kind of a lot more happy people.
Everything else, just taking the pressure off yourself. I'm going to ask you a question and you have to answer it, but also ask a question to the next guest who's going to be on the pod, if that's okay. So my question to you is, it can be as random and wacky as you want it to be, but something as simple as like, what's your life motto?
Okay. Well, something I say to myself a lot is, who do you think you are to take yourself so seriously?
I love that one. Yeah.
And then I ask a question to the next person. If you wake up and you've got nothing to do, no requirements, what will you do? Amazing. Love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Olly. I was wondering what's next for you and for your work. Have you got anything exciting coming up? I'm going to South America for a month on Saturday, so like 2 days. So that'll be sick. Yeah. And then, I'm going to sort of, as fitness kind of becomes more back into my life and a bigger part of that, get the fitness app going more. And I think I'm going to start YouTube as well. Amazing. What, like vlogs and stuff? And amazing. I don't know, I think YouTube, it's just so powerful if you can build an audience there, and it's just a deeper way to connect, I think, with people. 100%. So that is sort of the main things. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for having me. And we will link all of Olly's socials in the description and bio. For all of you watching, please like and follow wherever you're watching from, and we will see you next time. Bye. We'd also be really grateful if you could subscribe and share this podcast to someone who might find it helpful. Your support helps us reach more listeners, so please do spread the word. Thank you.